Yeah, Comverse is an OMA communication veteran, chairing I think from 2006 to and going on. And yeah, for a few years I'm coming and discussing several agendas, several things in the agenda of the OMA Com. And one of the things that I think was brought to me as a classic point, I changed I think the presentation, so probably Liz is a bit pissed off about it, changed it since WhatsApp was bought by Facebook, and it was the classic way for me to present the standard-based evolution of the service experience. And I think that those two really represent what Comverse for several years are pitching as well through the OMACOM and to the GSMA about the fact that today all the communication is basically shaped by the OTT. And that's a very classic way, but on the other hand, when you look at it, they don't really own any intellectual property that places like OMACOM did not develop or specify even when we look about 6 years ago. So when taking that and understanding that today the OTT are the one to shape the internet and the digital era, that should bring us really into I would say an understanding when we come to the telecom industry to say that the mission is not to build a standard. The mission is not basically to build the application server. The mission is really to have a user experience where basically the user really want to experience, really want to stick to it. And when you look really on what happened in the telecom industry, mostly on the European side, we see that, you know, everyone takes the standards, great standards, then come to the need for agreement. RCSE was an excellent example 3-4 years ago. Now we have a very narrow agreement about what to take from the standards. Now we develop, based on those narrow standardization, a very narrow application server. And now when we come to the user experience, we're a bit puzzled why the users don't really like to stick to it. So the thing we done is we research over 40 OTTs around the world. And our base assumption was that it has to do a lot with the culture. So that line in Japan is very classic for the Japanese culture, that cacao in Korea will be very dominating a certain portion of the Korean culture. But at the end, what we find, researching over 40 of those, is that simply they have a very large commonality. And the commonality in this list is really based on the fact that they don't put the address book in the center. They put the conversation in the media, so it's very viral, and you can really take it and forward it to your other users. They do not like the tabs, where basically any RCS client today has a messaging tab, call tabs, setting tabs. No, they would like to do multitasking, to open multiple sessions, communicate with multiple users. The threads are not dynamic enough. When we're looking at it, the most successful application like WhatsApp, it's a messaging base. Tomorrow is going to be a call base as well, VoIP base. But it doesn't bring any unique features that no one thought about, like the most sophisticated location service around the world. And when we look on the RCS interpretation to what we should take in the RCS feature, location is one of the major features, or file transfer is one of the major features. Groups, simple how you create a group. When you take the standardization, definition is quite large about how to do it. When the implementation, it's an opt-in implementation versus WhatsApp doing an opt-out implementation. You need to create the the group naming before you can even select the people. All those which really coming from an understanding that what we call, if the CSP will become a user experience provider, that can make really making or surviving those communication, whether it's a voice or a messaging. And yes, reality, when you look and we work and reselling, and we love those client manufacturers, when we look really on those manufacturers, at the end, based on the narrow standard, they are really working in what we call the grid model. When you look on any iOS application, you see that it's not a grid model. It is utilizing the iOS 7 capabilities. It's very flat, it's very neat. everything that you can pop up when you go to a desktop. It is mostly will be based on a WebRTC capability on Chrome and Mozilla, no need for installation. It is not a dial pad interface. And coming out of that, we're saying, I mean, what's wrong? Is it the standard? And the answer, no. Anyone taking the OMA standardization, the OMA communication standardization, will find out that in 2008, the definition for a group chat was going absolutely fine, define how OMA CPM will utilize group chat. And the end result is that for convenient, everyone took the simple IM approach, which means that you cannot do anything like transform from messaging to voice and vice versa, basically going from the standard core, developing the application server, and then deciding on the user experience. Nothing that matched the ability to do a real conversation focus, the ability to do multitasking, and a real multi-device. Even today, telecom industry don't supply a real multi-device, even based on the three screen, mobile, tablet, and desktop. There is a hidden battle, and we should really put it up front. And I'm sorry in a way to be the gatekeeper more than once, but when the standardization developed the OMA CPM and the simple IM as the two alternatives, and this easy way was to take the simple IM, basically we saw two groups. And 2 years ago there was a large task force over the communication just before MWC 2012, which was North America and the European, trying to bring to Barcelona a kind of an holistic kind of solution, so we all agree. What happened in those 2 years? That again, it's diverse and split into two groups. And basically the ability to take RCS 5.1 and then not to stick to it and build the Blackbird and now the Crane, and the European again go in their own way and the North American go in the OMA CPM way. I think that looking at Barcelona, just now, this year, and looking at the Chinese, which is the first time the China Telecom, China Mobile, is coming into the game, choosing the OMA CPM as preferred standard, I think that we can take both sides of the ocean in a way, the Chinese and the North American, and to build something which really based on a good message store, good multi-device application, still surviving those voice and messaging abilities for the telecom industry. And naturally we hear the bad news like Wimpelcom trying to influence the government saying that they are giving up on the voice and communication. I will just quote the OMACOM chair, which basically was saying it. Guys, when we are developing on the GSMA, the RCS5, looking forward, it's the OMA CPM. Don't choose the easy way of going continue with the simple IM. And for that, we need not just to build the OMA CPM standard like we done. We need to influence the CSP. We need to make sure that the vendor really implement them. Comverse is trying to lead as much as we can those parts via the North American industry. We hope the Chinese will join as well. But we need to make the user experience and the whole service experience, client and server, to be very attractive. This is not my sentence. If everyone knows whose sentence is it, this is Steve Jobs, that naturally was a big believer that first understand what the user needs and then build the box. I will just leave you with that. Thank you very much.